Hello, class. We're going to do continuation of section 4.3, which introduces all these formulas. We just finished double angle, and what we're going to do now is something called the power reducing formula. The power reducing formula will be used specifically when you get to calculus. I believe it was Calc 2, if my memory serves me correctly, where you end up using this technique that we're going to demonstrate to simplify a bunch of equations and being able to do some much easier derivatives and integrals on these equations. So the strategy is this, and here we have the three power reducing formulas. The ones that are used the most are the sines and cosines, but you see that we have the tangent as well. And you notice that you take a square and you end up making it kind of a double angle, right? Where you see the cosine of 2x and all three of those equations. And so what we do here is they introduce the technique on how to use them. So what I would like to start with is I'm going to do two examples. It's a little bit tedious, so I just want to make sure I walk through this one. So we're going to do sine to the fourth of x and say we want to reduce that where everything is linear, right? So there's no squares, there's no cubes, there's no fourths, any of that. So the strategy with this one would be, let's rewrite it where we have the square term. And then what you want to do is take this, and the first step would be the power reducing. With the sign. And just let me write this here so you see what I'm going to be doing. Be 1 minus cosine of 2x over 2. So what we're going to do here is 1 minus cosine of 2x over 2. And then we're going to square it. So we're going to do a little algebra next. Do a little algebra next. And the algebra will be 2 squared is 4. So the first thing I want to do is to bring this out, and it would look like this. Get rid of that fraction. It's kind of annoying to bring it all the way. So let's just pull it out front. And remember what the square does, right? The square would look like you multiply it together twice. So let's just walk through that. So that'd be 1/4. So that'd be 1 minus cosine of 2x minus cosine of 2x. And then when you multiply these together, we get plus cosine squared of 2x. So let's just combine like terms. Cosine squared of 2x. So the next step is the power reducing. Just going to abbreviate it PR for cosine. And that one, instead of there we go. So that would be cosine. So instead of a minus here, it just changes to a plus. And so when we do that substitution, you get 1/4. And then you get 1 minus 2 cosine of 2x. And then you get plus, now we do our substitution. So look, we have a 2x here, right? So 2x times 2x is going to give us 4x. So this would be 1 plus cosine of 4x, all divided by 2. I feel like I want to say, are there any questions? And so what do we do next? We got fractions and fractions, and it's a little bit annoying, right? So what I would recommend doing with regards to this is we have a quarter outside here, right? And so if we want to bring out this other half, it would look like this, 1/8, right? So if we bring out 1/8, what ends up happening? Well, remember we had a 1 here, so 1 times a quarter is a quarter, so this would end up being a 2. See how that works? And so we have a 2 here. 2 times a quarter is a half. So now to make this a half, we have minus 4 cosine of 2x. And then we have plus 1, since we brought that out, right? And then we have plus cosine of 4x. Or, oh, whoops, get that eraser out. So that's a little bit of algebra with regards to that. And you can see you can combine the 2 and the 1, and that's the only combination we could do to simplify. So when you walk through this, this is what the WebAssign would be looking for. Combine the 1 and the 2, and then the last one would be just cosine of 4x. So in the PowerPoint presentation, you'll find a nice step-by-step. And again, it's important to label what you're doing, especially this part, where when you're doing proofs especially, you need to label what you're doing when you do the proofs. Just don't randomly throw in equations without saying what you're doing. Now, sometimes like expand, that's like algebra. You could say that, etc. But this comment is super important. And then when you get down here, this comment here is super important. And when I do it, I usually tell you what I'm doing, like power reducing for sines or power reducing for cosines. Okay, and so what's kind of cool is that you could get at Desmos and type in both those equations. You can see they're both exactly the same. And so which one's easier to graph? Well, they're both a little bit complicated with regard to that. But usually a linear cosine or sine equation is easier to graph than a squared version of it. Okay, so let's do one more of these. Let's clear this one. And let's see here. So let's do this one and see what we get. So say like you're asked, you have sine squared of x times cosine squared of x. And you want to do the power, get rid of all the squares. So let's see what happens when we do this. So again, we're going to do the power reducing, and we're going to do for both sines and cosine on the first one. And so when we plug it in for sine, it's 1 minus cosine of 2x over 2. And when we plug it in for cosine, it's 1 plus cosine of 2x over 2. And so when you do this, we can multiply this out. And so let's bring the 1/4 out again, right? And so 1 times 1 is 1. And it would be minus cosine of 2x, right? And then it would be plus cosine of 2x. And then it would be minus cosine of 2x squared. Right? Cosine of 2x and cosine of 2x is cosine of 2x squared. So what's nice about this is these center terms cancel. And you can think about having 1/4, 1 minus cosine squared of 2x. So unfortunately, we got to do this one more time. So here we'll do the power reducing for cosine. And so that would be 1/4. It'd be 1 minus, and then what would that be? Well, we have 2x here, so it's going to be 1 plus cosine of 4x, just like we did last time, divided by 2. And again, what I would do is bring this 2 out right away, get rid of all the fractions. And so when you do that, you have 1/8. And then remember, this 1 will turn into a 2, so that'll be 2. And then you have minus 1 minus cosine of 4x. So what I did here is distribute the minus through. As you can see, 2 minus 1 is 1. So to simplify it a little bit more, you would have 1 minus cosine of 4x. So That ends the recorded lectures for the power reducing formula. And we got some more formulas to go over. I think the half angle formula is next.